The cold is the first sensation. It is the only sensation. A perfect, absolute cold. It is not a temperature. It is a state of being. The state of the void. I do not exist here. I am suspended. A weapon waiting to be drawn. A thought waiting to be thought. There is no time, no sound, no self. Just the deep velvet blackness. A stillness that is almost peace. Almost. Then, a light. A single dull red pinprick. It pulses in the dark. Once, twice. The peace is over. The void is breached. It means I am needed. The hiss starts. It is not a sound. It is a vibration. The first shift in the universe. The vibration of the fluid around me. The cryoamniotic beginning to move. It is followed by the sting. Chemicals. The awakening protocol. They flood the coffin. They are sharp. They smell of ozone and bitter almonds. My skin registers this. A distant report. The flesh is waking up. I do not want it to. This is the worst part. The climb. The slow, agonizing resurrection. The flesh is always reluctant. It remembers the stillness. It craves it. But the chemicals are insistent. They are fire in ice. They burn through the suspension. My nerves ignite. A network of cold fire. Pain. Yes, that is the word. Pain is the anchor. Pain means I am returning. I am becoming 9 Delta again. A voice. It is not a voice. It is a command layered over the hum of the machinery. It resonates through the liquid directly into my skull. Operative 9 Delta, awakening protocol initiated. The words are clean, precise. No emotion, no humanity. They are a reflection of what I must be. 9 Delta. I repeat the designation in my mind. The mind that is slowly reforming. The mind that is being forced into cohesion. It is not a name. It is a function, a serial number, a guarantee of service. I had another name. Once, long ago, in a place with a yellow sun. A memory of warmth on stone. I discard the memory. It is irrelevant. It is a flaw. The schola, the orphanage where they teach you to worship pain, taught me that. Memories are ghosts. Ghosts make you miss. I do not miss. I am 9 Delta. I am the instrument. I am the equation. The fluid begins to drain. The noise is a wet, sucking sound. A vacuum pulling the void away from me. The pressure changes. My ears pop. A small, intimate violence. Then the air. The real air. It hits my wet skin. It is impossibly cold. Colder than the void. A sterile, recycled wind. I am naked. I am exposed. My body is a single raw nerve. My heart. It is beating. I can feel it. A heavy, clumsy hammer in my chest. Thump, thump, thump. It feels wrong. Too loud. An intrusion. The stillness had no heartbeat. The stillness was pure. I try to breathe. The first breath is a reflex, a gasp. The lungs tear at the frozen air. It burns. I suppress the gasp. I take control. I am the weapon, not the flesh. My breathing slows. I force it. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. The Vindicare pattern. The breath of the patient hunter. The body is a tool. It must be mastered. It must be controlled. Even when it screams. My eyes. They are sealed shut. A crust of cryo paste. I blink. The paste cracks. It flakes away. The red light is still there. Blinking. Patient. Persistent. Blink, blink, blink. It is the only thing in the universe. A single point of focus. Then a new sound. Heavy. Mechanical. The sound of locks. Great heavy bolts drawing back. 1, 2, 3. The coffin is preparing to open. The world is preparing to reclaim me. I feel a flicker. A small cold spark of something. Not fear, not joy. Purpose, the mission. The void is passive. The mission is active. I am built for the active. I am built to end things. A hydraulic whine. The lid of the coffin. It is moving. A crack of new light appears. Not red. White. A sterile, clinical white. The light of the facility. The light of the Officio Assassinorum. The place that unmade me. The place that forged me. It is a harsh, unforgiving light. It reveals everything. It forgives nothing. It is the light of truth. The lid slides away. It is gone. The white light floods in. It is an assault. I keep my eyes open. I do not flinch. I let it burn. I see the ceiling. Grey metal. Pipes. Condensation. A single glowing lumen strip. My world. I sit up. The movement is agony. Every muscle has been asleep for more das months, years. It does not matter. Time is another void. My limbs are heavy. So heavy. My arms shake as I push myself up. The stimulants are fighting the atrophy, but the flesh is weak. I am not my flesh. I place my feet on the deck. The metal is grooved, and it is cold. A different cold. A real cold. A cold that conducts. I stand. I am unsteady. A newborn. A mockery of a human. I stand for 3 seconds. Then I am still. The shaking stops. I will it to stop. The mind commands. The body obeys. I am a weapon. A weapon does not shake. I am awake. I breathe. The void recedes. I am needed. I look at the red light. It has stopped blinking. It is steady now. The red light blinked. The void had an assignment. The door to the alcove hissed open. A perfect seam in the metal wall. Beyond it, a corridor. Not a corridor, a sanitization chamber. The light was blue. It was cold. It smelled of ozone and nothing. The absence of smell. 2 figures stood there. They were not men. They were servitors, tools, like me, but lesser. One was a Medica pattern, all white plating and chrome limbs. Glass vials clicked on its chest. The other was an armor pattern, dull, oiled metal. Its hands were multi-jointed claws designed for calibration. They did not speak. They did not look at me. They simply waited. Their optic lenses, dull red, registered my presence. I walked towards them. My bare feet made wet, slapping sounds on the gridded floor. The sound was disgusting. A reminder of the flesh. I stopped 1 meter away. Protocol. The Medica servitor moved first. Its movements were too smooth. Unnatural. It raised a silver injector. The needle was 3 centimeters long. It did not ask permission. It did not warn. It simply struck. The needle plunged into my neck just below the skull. A jolt of intense, searing cold. The stimulant. The muscle enhancer. My body arched. A silent scream. The atrophy of the cryosleep was burned away in a single agonizing second. My muscles, dormant moments ago, seized and contracted. They felt like stone. The servitor retracted the needle. It turned and walked away. The second servitor, the armor pattern, stepped forward. It held something in its claws. My suit, the synth skin. It was not a garment. It was a second skin held in a containment field. A shimmering black film. The servitor did not dress me. It applied me. It moved around me, its metal feet clicking on the deck. The clicks were precise, rhythmic. The sound of a machine doing its one perfect task. It started at my feet. The synth skin touched my skin. It was cold, colder than the cryofluid. It clung. It bonded. I felt it seal. The tiny molecular hooks latching into my pores. It climbed my legs, my torso. It felt like being swallowed by a cold snake. This is the ritual. The unmaking of the man, the making of the weapon. The suit covered my chest. My heartbeat, which had been a drum, was suddenly muffled. The suit was designed for stealth. It dampened sound. It dampened vibration. It dampened me. It reached my neck. The servitor's metal fingers were cold as they pressed the final seals. The chill of metal on my skin. The cold of the machine. Then the final connections. The servitor moved behind me. I felt its cold metal fingers at the base of my skull where the needle had been. It pulled a data port from its own wrist. A thick coaxial cable. It plugged me in. A sharp click. And then data. Not pain. Not cold. Just pure, unfiltered information. My suit status. The temperature of the corridor. The micro-G fluctuations of the station. The status of my own biology. Heart rate 65 BPM. Respiration 8 per minute. Perfect. The servitor was done. It stepped back. It became a statue again. I was 9 Delta. I was no longer naked. I was no longer weak. I was armed. I was armored. I was correct. I turned. A new door had opened. A small, dark room. A transport lift, no windows, just a single bench. I stepped inside. The door hissed shut. There was no sense of motion, no sound. The room was perfectly still. But I knew I was moving deep into the heart of the station, deep into the fortress of the Officio. I sat on the bench. The metal was cold even through the suit. I waited. I do not know how long. Time is for other people. Time is for the living. I am for the mission. The lift stopped. The change in inertia was fractional, but the suit told me. A voice filled the small space. It was not human. It was synthetic. The same voice from the cryo bay. It was the voice of the temple. Designation 9 Delta. Status active. Vetting confirmed. The voice was flat, empty. The target is high priority. I closed my eyes. Priority is irrelevant. Only the target matters. The wall in front of me shimmered. It was not a wall. It was a screen. It lit up. Not with data, not with text. With a face. A single hollow display lit up, showing a face I would come to know better than my own. The face hung in the darkness of the transport room. It was three-dimensional. A hololith. It turned slowly. Lord Militant Hectoron. The name appeared below the image. Just data. The synthetic voice continued, devoid of anger or judgment. It simply stated facts. Target Hectoron Varus, Lord Militant of the 8th Askelion Crusade. Current location Hive Primus, Spire Level 7. Hive Primus. A city of 1 trillion souls. A hive city, a mountain of metal and misery scraping the poisoned sky. The spire was the peak, the place where the air was thin and the masters lived. The face was strong, middle-aged. A scar bisected his left eyebrow. His eyes were dark. He looked tired. Charge Hereticus Gravitas. Level Alpha Prime. Sanction termination. Hereticus Gravitas. A heavy heresy. The worst kind. Betrayal on a scale that topples worlds. The voice did not elaborate. It did not need to. The charge was absolute. The sentence was absolute. My purpose was absolute. The hololith image of the face split. It became a dozen smaller images. Data flooded the screen. I did not read. I absorbed. Hectoron's guard detail. 24 elite soldiers, house guard, their names, their faces, their weapon preferences. His schedule. Meticulous. He rose at 0400, he slept at 2300. His food tasters, his physicians, his concubines, all irrelevant, all noise. The target is protected by void-shielding layered auger arrays and psychic wards. The voice was calm. These were just problems. Problems have solutions. Conventional assault is impossible. The collateral damage would be unacceptable. The voice paused. A calculated, mechanical pause. The officio demands a precise solution. Me. I am the precise solution. I am the scalpel that cuts the tumor without harming the patient. I am the ghost that walks through walls. The data streams continued. Blueprints of the palace on Spire Level 7, ventilation shafts, waste disposal routes, power conduits. I saw the paths, the hidden ways, the rat mazes, the places no one looks, the places I call home. Intelligence indicates a structural flaw in the primary shielding. A flicker, 0.75 seconds every 24-hour cycle. The timing is random. The voice did not say this was difficult. It did not say it was madness. It just stated the facts. Your window is indeterminate. You will wait. I stared at the rotating face, the face of Hectoron. Indeterminate. The void does not mind the wait, the voice concluded. Your mission is threefold. Infiltration, observation, termination. No collateral damage, no trace. The screen showed a schematic of my infiltration route. A dark, winding path through the guts of the hive. The synthetic voice spoke one last time. Confirm. Confirmed, I said. My voice was a dry rasp. The first time I had used it since awakening. It sounded alien. A dead thing. The hololith of Hectoron's face vanished. The room was dark again. A panel slid open in the wall. A servitor arm, identical to the ones in the chamber, extended. It held two things. The mask. My face. The Vindicare spy mask. A skull. A polished, featureless thing of bone-white plasteel. It was not for terror. It was for function. It would filter the air. It would magnify my sight. It would silence my breath. I took it. The plasteel was cold. I put it on. The world changed. The dark room was suddenly bright. I saw in multiple spectrums, thermal, auspex, kinetic. The servitor arm was a ghost of heat. The walls were a mesh of data. And I was a cold blue shape in the center of it all. The arm retracted, then extended again. It held the rifle. My rifle, the Exodus rifle. It was not a gun. It was a holy relic, a work of art, 1.5 meters of dull black metal. It was heavy. It was balanced. It was my other half. I took it from the cradle. My gloved fingers found the grip. It felt like coming home, like the part of me that was missing had been returned. The rifle is my spine. The scope is my eye. The arm offered one last item, a single compressed supply pack. 87 days of nutrient paste water recycling and metabolic suppressants. The synthetic voice said. 87 days. The mission was clear. They gave me the rifle, the mask, and 87 days of supplies. 87 days to find 1 second. The transport was a void within the void. No windows, no lights, just the hum. A low, resonant frequency that I felt in my bones even through the suit. The vibration of a null shield. The pulse of a stealth engine. I sat in the dark. The rifle was clamped to the bulkhead. The supply pack was at my feet. We were moving. Fast. Through what I did not know. The void of space. The upper atmosphere. It was irrelevant. I was cargo. A single purpose-built bullet being delivered to the gun. I checked the rifle's diagnostic. Green. I checked my suit's status. Green. I checked my own heart rate. Green. I did not sleep. I recessed. I went into the quiet place in my mind. The place that waits. Infiltration is not about force. It is not about speed. It is about non-existence. You cannot fight a ghost. You cannot stop a shadow. I am the equation that is not in the book. The vibration changed, a grinding metallic shiver. The transport was slowing. We were docking. There was a heavy resonant thud, a sound of finality. We were here, Hive Primus. The air pressure in the small cabin changed. My ears popped a small wet click inside the mask. The synthetic voice returned. One word. Disembark. The wall in front of me dissolved. Not a door. A section of the hull just unfolded. The smell hit me first. It was everything. A wall of stench. Burnt oil. Ozone. Rancid water. Rust. And beneath it all, the thick, sweet, sickening smell of humanity. 1 billion people breathing and sweating and dying in one place. The underhive. I stepped out onto a narrow gantry. It was dark. My mask instantly adjusted. I was in a sewage conduit. A vast, vaulted cavern of rusted iron. Rivers of black, chemical-laced filth flowed 100 meters below. The air was thick. You could chew it. The suit's filters clicked on a faint whirring sound. My recycled air tasted of plastic. It was better. The transport did not wait. The hull folded. The vibration stopped. It was gone. I was alone. I attached the supply pack to my back. I unclamped the Exodus rifle. The rifle is my spine. The scope is my eye. I began to move. My target was in the spire, the pinnacle of the hive. I was at the bottom. The dregs. The climb would be long. I did not use the walkways. I used the shadows beneath them. I moved along pipes, cable bundles, and structural supports. My movements were silent. The synth skin suit absorbed sound. It mimicked the texture of the surfaces I touched. I was a ripple in the darkness. Millions pass below or above. I am not with them. They live in the light and the noise. They are the herd. They do not know death is watching. I climbed for 3 days. I did not stop. I did not rest. The stimulants and nutrient paste fed the body. The mission fed the will. I moved through maintenance shafts, forgotten cathedrals of machinery, the tombs of industry. I saw no one. Once I heard them, scavengers, gutter scum. Their voices were harsh, guttural. They were arguing over a piece of scrap. I froze. I became part of the wall, a pattern of rust and shadow. They passed 10 meters from me. Their heat signatures were bright, messy flares in my mask's vision. They were loud. So loud. They were animals. They did not look up. They never look up. The shadows are my cloak. The silence is my shield. On the third day, the air changed. The smell of oil and waste faded. It was replaced by nothing. The air became thinner, colder, cleaner. The sound of the hive was a distant roar far below. I was ascending, leaving the filth behind. I was climbing the outside of a forgotten ventilation shaft. The wind was strong here. It screamed. A high, thin noise. My mask registered the altitude. I was above the cloud line, above the smog. I was near the spire. I found the opening. It was not on any blueprint. An old, corroded service hatch sealed shut for centuries. I used a spray of chemical catalyst. The metal hissed. It turned to brittle foam. I slipped inside. It was a room, a space. It was quiet. The floor was stone, dust. The air was still. Through a cracked archway, through a shattered stained glass window, I could see the target's palace, a mountain of gold and light, 2.4 kilometers away. I was in an old church, a collapsed bell tower. It was perfect. After 3 days of climbing, I found it. The perch. My new home. The dust was thick. It coated everything. A fine grey powder that smelled of ancient stone and decay. The air was still but cold. The wind did not howl here, it breathed. A long, slow sigh through the cracked archways and the broken-toothed gaps in the bell tower. My home. I chose the darkest corner, the one furthest from the shattered stained glass window. The one where the shadows were deepest, where the light would never touch. I unrolled the chameleon cloak. It was not a blanket. It was a piece of technology, a sheet of mimic fabric. I laid it on the stone. It rippled once like a drop of oil on water, and then it became the floor. It copied the grime, the cracks, the texture of the ancient rock. This would be my bed, my shroud, my world. I did not move from this spot. This was the rule. Then, the rifle. I opened the case. The pieces were nestled in high-density foam. Each one a jewel, each one a promise. I began the assembly. It was a ritual, a prayer. The stock clicked into the receiver. A cold, solid sound. The heavy barrel threaded into place. The suppressor long and thick, designed to turn a thunderclap into a whisper. Each movement was precise, practiced. My hands did not shake. They knew this dance. Finally, the scope, the optic, the eye of the Emperor. I mounted it on the rifle. I connected the data link. My mask's display instantly synchronized. The world was now the scope. The scope was my eye. I am not the rifle. I am of the rifle. We are a single unit, a single purpose. My breath is its breath. I mounted the rifle on its tripod. The legs unfolded silent and strong. I angled it through a small crack in the stonework, a firing loophole that nature or ruin had provided. The palace was there, framed perfectly, a citadel of light 2.4 kilometers away. I settled behind the weapon. I activated my personal systems. The supply pack hissed as I connected the nutrient tube to the port on my suit. A cold, tasteless paste. It would keep the flesh alive. I activated the waste recycler. A quiet hum. The body is a filthy, inefficient machine. It must be managed. I placed the auto-injectors against my thigh. Stimulants, anti-atrophy compounds, pain blockers. My world shrank. It was no longer the hive city. It was no longer the spire. My world was the 10 square feet of this cloak, and the 70mm circle of the scope. Time. It stopped. It ceased to have meaning. There was no day, no night. There was only the vigil. The light would change in the scope. It would go from the grey of day to the neon haze of night. It was a rhythm, not time. The cold of the stone floor was constant. It was a living thing, a presence. It seeped through the cloak. It seeped through the synth skin. It was a cold that did not numb. It was a cold that spoke. It gnawed at my bones, a dull, constant ache. I welcomed it. Pain is an anchor. Pain is reality. It keeps the mind sharp. I put my eye to the scope. The world vanished. The dust, the wind, the cold, all gone. There was only the circle. I adjusted the focus. The palace leaped forward. The glass was so clear. I saw the guards walking the ramparts. I saw the banners hanging limp in the high, thin air. I saw the target's balcony. It was empty. I centered the crosshairs on the main door of the balcony, and I began the wait. Day 1. The target is predictable. The first week was a blur of light and shadow. My world was the lens. Hectoron appeared on day 2. LO731. He stepped onto the balcony. My mask's audio enhancers came online. I could hear the wind, the distant city hum, and him. He was drinking. A steaming mug. Recaf. The steam rose in the cold morning air. He stood there for 4 minutes. He looked out over the city. His city. Then he went inside. The weight is a form of erosion. It wears you down. It sands the edges off your mind. You do not fight it. You become it. You become the stone. You become the dust. I am the stone. I am the dust. My body is a machine running in low power mode. The nutrient paste is cold. It has no taste. It is fuel. I take it at 06:0012:0018:00. The schedule is the only thing that separates one cycle from the next. The suit manages the waste. I do not think about it. The flesh is a problem to be managed. I do not sleep. I enter cycles. 2 hours of full observation, then 10 minutes of system rest. My eyes close. The mask's display goes dark, but the sensors remain active. If the target appears, an alarm will sound in my skull. It does not. He is a creature of habit. Habits are chains. Chains break. Week 2. The pattern solidifies. 4. Lights in his chambers. 7:31. The balcony, the recaf. He always holds the mug in his right hand. 07:35. He goes inside. 13:00. He meets with his advisors. I can see them through the main window, blurred by the angled glass. Figures of shadow. 19:00. He eats alone. 22:47. He returns to the balcony. He looks at the stars, or where the stars should be beyond the toxic smog of the hive. 23. The lights go out. I know his routine. I know it better than my own. He has a small habit. When he drinks the recaf, he blows on it first, twice. A small human gesture. It is inefficient. The mug is clearly insulated. I file the observation. It is data. I am becoming an expert on Lord Militant Hectoron. I know that he favors his left leg. A weakness. An old wound. He tries to hide it, but when he is tired, he limps. Just a slight drag of the foot. Noted. I know that he shouts. I can't hear the words. The distance is too great, but I can see the gestures, the anger. He is passionate, flawed. The guards on the balcony change every 3 hours. They are sloppy. One of them, the one on the 0300 cycle, chews stim sticks. I can see the green glow on his teeth through the scope. If I were to kill them, I would start with him. He is a vulnerability, but my mission is not them. My mission is Hectoron. Week 3. The rain starts. It is not rain. It is a chemical downpour. It streaks the glass of the palace windows. It makes observation difficult. The image in my scope blurs. The wind howls in my bell tower. It is a living thing. A screaming ghost. It does not matter. I adjust the filters. I switch to thermal. The world becomes a map of heat. The palace is a hot red wound in the cold blue night. Hectoron is a flare of orange and yellow. He is still there, still following his pattern. 07:32, he is late. My heart rate changes. It ticks up, 1 beat, 66 BPM. Why is he late? Is the pattern broken? Is the window coming? No, he appears. 07:33, he is coughing. I can hear it. A deep, wet, racking sound. It echoes amplified by my mask. It sounds painful. He coughs twice. He spits over the balcony. 07:32, target coughs, twice, same as yesterday. I realize I heard it yesterday too, and the day before. It is part of the new pattern. The sickness. He is a creature of habit. Even his sickness is predictable. I am not bored. Boredom is an emotion. It is a luxury. I am focused. This is the job. The job is not the shot. The job is the wait. The shot is the release. The shot is the easy part. The job is this: being the stone, being the eye. The cold in my perch is constant. The stone has become a part of me. I have memorized the cracks in the wall opposite me. I have counted the cobwebs. 114. Sometimes the mind drifts. It is a danger. The greatest danger. I see the yellow sun, the warmth on the stone. I purge it. I recite the Vindicare catechism of aim. I am the will of the emperor. I am the hand that strikes. I am the eye that sees. I am the death that comes. I repeat it 100 times, 1,000 times, until the sun is gone, until there is only the cold and the scope. Week 4, day 30. 30 days of watching a man live. I know his moods. I know when he is angry. I know when he is something else. He is not just data anymore. This is the danger. The true danger of the long wait. The target becomes known. He is not a hololith. He is not a list of charges. He is the man who coughs at 0732. He is the man who favors his left leg. He is the man who looks at the stars. I purge the thought. It is heresy. It is weakness. The target is the heresy. The heresy must be purged. The man is the container. He is a pattern, nothing more. For 30 days he was just data, a pattern, until day 31. Day 31. The stone was cold. The air was thin. My back ached. A dull, low-level signal from the flesh. I registered the signal. I ignored it. Pain is a reminder. The body is present. The body is a cage. I observed the cage. I was not in it. I was in the scope. Day 701. The balcony door opened. He was on time. The pattern held. Hectoron, the target, the heresy. He held the mug. The steam rose. He blew on it. Once, twice, he drank. He looked out at the smog. He coughed. The wet, sharp sound carried across the 2.4 kilometers. My mask filtered it, made it clean. Everything was as it was. A recording on loop. 0735. He finished the recaf. He set the mug down on the rail. He should have turned. He should have gone inside. He did not. He hesitated. This was new, a deviation. My finger resting beside the trigger guard did not move. But my mind focused. The equation was changing. Hectoron looked left, then right. The 2 guards on his balcony were stationed by the doors. They were looking out, not at him. He was checking. He turned his back to them. He faced the city. He faced me. He reached into the heavy pocket of his brocaded robe. He pulled his hand out. It was cupped. He pursed his lips. Not a whistle, a gesture, and then a sound. My mask's audio sensors spiked. A high-frequency trill. It was birdsong, here in this toxic dead air. A shape. A small, fast-moving heat signature. It flew from the eaves of the palace roof. A flicker of impossible color. Blue. A vibrant, living blue. It landed on the stone railing. Hectoron uncupped his hand. Crumbs. The bird, small as a man's thumb, hopped onto his finger. His bare finger. He raised it to his face, and he smiled. The smile was not the one from the holophile. Not the bared teeth grimace of a commander. Not the sneer of a heretic. His eyes crinkled. The scar on his eyebrow softened. It was a real smile. The data in my head, the file that said, Hereticus Gravitas Alpha Prime Monster Traitor. It slammed against the data in my lens. The man who burned worlds was feeding a bird. The contradiction was a physical force, a pressure in my skull. My suit registered a biological alert. Heart rate 68 BPM. Respiration 10 per minute. I was reacting. The flesh was reacting. A flaw, a failure. This is the danger. This is the ghost. The memory of the yellow sun. The warmth. This is what they burn out of you in the Shola. The capacity to see a man instead of a target. My training screamed, purge the anomaly. The target is the heresy. The heresy is the target. But my eye stayed on the bluebird. It was alive. So terribly, foolishly alive, in a city of death. A distraction. No, it was a lie. The smile was a lie. A mask. A different kind of mask. The heresy is a void. It consumes everything. It leaves only the shell. This kindness. It was a mockery. A way for the monster to reassure itself that it was still human. It was obscene. I forced my breath. Inhale. The catechism of aim. Hold. I am the will of the Emperor. Exhale. The heresy is the target. Inhale. The catechism of the void. Hold. I am the silence. I am the cold. Exhale. The flesh is a lie. My heart rate, 67. It was still high. I was failing. The man, Hectoron, he spoke to the bird. I could not hear the words. They were a murmur, a soft vibration. He was gentle. The data said he ordered the purge of 3 cities. He executed his own staff. The man is irrelevant. The anomaly is irrelevant. The bird chirped. It pecked the last crumb. It was a weakness. That was the word. That was the key. This was not a contradiction. This was data. This was a vulnerability, a routine, a piece of leverage. If I needed to, I could shoot the bird. The target would react. Yes, I felt the logic return. The cold, clean lines of the equation. The anomaly was not a ghost. It was just another variable. The smile was a symptom. The bird was a tool. They were irrelevant to my mission. My mission was the shot. The bird. It flew away. A streak of blue vanishing into the gray. Hectoron's smile vanished. It was gone, instantly. The mask of the Lord Militant snapped back into place. The tired eyes, the scarred brow. He coughed, the wet familiar sound. He turned. He went inside. 07:38, he was late. The balcony was empty. The stone was cold. My heart rate, 65 BPM. The world was correct again. I had seen a flaw in him and in me. His was the bird. Mine was the hesitation. Both were purged. I purged the image. I purged the doubt. And I waited for the killing light. The anomaly was logged. The moment of hesitation was purged. The vigil resumed. Week 5. The cold was different now. It was not a sensation. It was a resident. It lived in me. The stone of the perch, the cloak, the suit, they were all one layer. My skin was another. The cold was inside my bones. This is where the body begins to betray the mind. The flesh is a machine, a poor one. It is made of meat, and meat rots. It began at the pressure points, my hips, my thighs, the parts of me that had not moved from the stone in 35 days. The suit's diagnostic whispered in my ear. A soft digital tone. Pressure warning, dermal level failure, left hip. I felt it. A dull, hot itching. The skin was breaking down. A bed sore. The suit. It tried. It injected a sealant, a numbing agent, a jolt of cold, a sting. But the suit cannot create new flesh. It can only preserve the dying. I did not move. I watched the target's balcony. The pain is a bell. I do not have to answer it. Week 6. The muscles began to fail. The anti-atrophy injections were a stopgap. They could not defeat the reality of stillness. My legs would seize, a sudden violent cramp, a knot of fire that threatened to tear the muscle from the bone. The pain was absolute. It was a white light in my mind. I could not move. I could not cry out. I simply watched. I watched Hectoron drink his recaf, his face clear in the scope, while my own body screamed in silent agony. The pain would last an hour. Then it would fade, leaving only the echo. The flesh is weak. I am not my flesh. Week 7. The hunger began. The nutrient paste was just fuel. It was not food. My body in its desperation was consuming itself. I could feel the hollowing, the gnawing ache. It was a distraction, a noise. I remember my Shola training. They locked us in weighted nets, submerged us in dark, cold water for days. Pain is your master, the trainers would say. But duty is your god. A true god always triumphs. This was my god, the mission, the waiting. So I let the hunger gnaw. It was just another bell. I did not answer. Week 9. The ghosts arrived. The line between the world and the mind begins to blur when you do not sleep. The stillness, it plays tricks. I would see movement in the corner of my eye, in the dark of the bell tower. The dust motes would dance. They would form shapes, faces, the wind whispering through the cracked stone. It would say my number. 9, 9, 9. My mask's sensors reported nothing. No movement, no sound but the wind. The ghosts were in me, the product of a failing brain. The lack of sleep, the constant pain, the sensory deprivation. This is the second test. The mind must be stronger than the ghosts. Pain is an illusion. The mission is the only truth. I would focus on the rifle, the cold, hard reality of the metal. I would focus on the target, the 2.4-kilometer distance, the calculation, wind, humidity, spin drift. The numbers were pure. The numbers did not lie. The ghosts dissolved before the numbers. Week 10. I was less. I was a thing of stone and will. The pain in my hips was a universe. The hunger was a constant low drum. My fingers, the ones curled around the rifle's stock, were numb. The nerves were dying. That faint tingling. I could no longer feel my feet. It did not matter. A Vindicare does not need to walk. He needs to wait. I was a corpse waiting to make another. Focus. Breathe. Wait. Day 71. The pattern held. Day 72. The chemical rain returned. The world was a blur of gray. Day 73. The target was angry. He threw his recaf mug off the balcony. I watched it fall. It made no sound. I waited. Day 74. The target moved. The window was open. Day 74. The rain had stopped. The air that followed it was heavy, wet. It hung over the spire like a shroud. It muffled the distant billion-voiced scream of the city below. My body was a constellation of pain. The sores on my hips were hot coals. The ache in my spine was a rod of ice. The numbness in my feet was a memory of flesh. I was a stone, a gargoyle, a thing of patience and ruin. And I watched. It was 1640. The light was dying. The sky was a deep, bruised purple. The target was not on his schedule. This was dead time. This was the empty space between the patterns. The balcony door opened. My world stopped. It did not slow. It did not shift. It simply, totally stopped. The pain in my hips, the fire. It was gone. The gnawing hunger in my stomach. Gone. The ghosts of dust and shadow in the bell tower. Vanished. The training, the absolute cold core of my purpose took the flesh. It did not ask. It consumed. The weapon was awake. The man was gone. A guard stepped out. He looked at the sky. He sniffed the air. He leaned on the railing casual. My crosshairs sat on the center of his helmet. I could. It would be easy. He was not the target. He was irrelevant noise. He spat over the edge. He turned and went inside, leaving the door ajar. A false spike. But my body, the weapon, it did not stand down. The systems remained at peak. The mind remained in the void. It knew. 2 minutes later, Hectoron. He walked out onto the balcony. He was alone. No guards, no attendants. He wore the heavy brocaded robe. No armor. He walked to the railing. The exact spot. The place he drank his recaf. The place he fed the bird. He did not look at the city. He looked up. At the purple, toxic sky. He was breathing. Deeply. Tasting the air. The clean post-rain air. I did not breathe. My hand, a thing separate from me, a tool moved. My thumb, numb and cold, found the safety. It rested on the switch. He was outside the shield. The sensor in my mask was a flat green line. He was standing 3 steps, outside the perimeter. The arrogance, the foolishness. The window was not a flicker. It was a gaping hole. My thumb pressed the switch. A soft, oiled, perfect click. In the absolute silence of my perch, it was a thunderclap. The sound of now. I settled my cheek against the rifle's stock. The metal was cold. It was the only real thing in the universe. The bell tower was gone. The dust was gone. The 74 days of waiting. They were a dream. There was only the circle, the lens. The data flooded the white bone of my mask. Target acquired. Range 2417 in meters. My eye did not blink. My heart did not pound. It settled. The suit's diagnostic showed 60 BPM, a perfect, steady mechanical rhythm. The body was a machine primed and waiting. The suit's sensors tasted the air. Humidity, 92%. Temperature 14.1 degrees Celsius. Barometric pressure stable. And the wind. I waited. The system listened. Wind null. 0. The air was dead. Perfectly still. A miracle. A gift from the void. I began the final words. The litany of the shot. The words formed in my mind. A silent, cold vibration. Emperor, guide my hand. Let the void take the bullet. Hectoron. He closed his eyes. He smiled. The same soft, private smile he had given the bluebird. He was remembering something. A memory of warmth. It was irrelevant. I pushed the air from my lungs. All of it. The body becomes perfectly still in that moment. The abeyant. The holy emptiness between heartbeats. I was not a man. I was a formula. 2417 meters, 92% humidity, 0 wind. The solution was absolute. My finger found the trigger. The calculation was complete. The equation balanced. Exhale, squeeze. The trigger was not a switch. It was a release. It did not snap. It yielded. A smooth, oiled, perfect break. 1.1 kilograms of pressure. My finger, numb and dead, had given the command. The rifle. It did not explode. It did not shout. It pushed. A deep, solid hydraulic shove against my shoulder. The recoil was absorbed by my braced, atrophied body. The sound was not a crack. It was a whisper. A deep, wet hiss. The sound of a tomb opening. The sound of the void taking a breath. The suppressor did its work. The smell of cold propellant and clean ozone filled my small space. A metallic tang. And then, I waited. The shot was fired, but the target was 24 and 17 meters away. The bullet, my purpose, was in the air. A small metal pilgrim crossing the gap. For 2.8 seconds, the universe hung in the balance. I watched, through the scope. Hectoron was still smiling. His eyes were still closed. A man lost in a warm memory. He was a statue. The bullet was traveling. Did I miscalculate? Did the wind shift? Did the 74 days of pain end in failure? The doubt was a cold, sharp, physical thing. A needle of ice in my heart. No, the smile. It did not vanish. It was erased. One moment Hectoron was a man. The next he was an object. There was no blood. No mist. The Exitus round is not a brute. It is a surgeon. It finds the vital point. It delivers the Emperor's judgment. It is clean. His head snapped back. A small, violent, almost comical twitch. The man was gone. The heresy was purged. He did not fall. He collapsed. A sack of meat. A puppet with all its strings cut at the same exact instant. He crumpled behind the stone railing. He was gone. The balcony was empty. The purple sky was empty. My lens was empty. The world was empty. Target neutralized. Objective complete. I stayed in the scope. I watched the empty piece of stone where he had been. The silence was total. Deeper than the cold. Deeper than the void. The city did not know. The palace did not know. For 10 seconds only I knew. I and the corpse. Then, the world caught up. A door burst open. The guard, the one from before, he ran onto the balcony. He looked left. He looked right. He shouted. My mask saw the shape of his mouth. He saw the empty space. He saw the recaf mug still on the railing. He looked down. He froze. Then he looked up. Not at me. At the sky. And he screamed. The alarm lights strobed. Red, red, red. A siren began to wail. A thin, distant, pathetic sound. A wounded thing. The palace was screaming. The wait was over. I-9 Delta let out the breath I had been holding since I awoke. It was not a sigh. It was not relief. It was just air. The 74 days of cold, of pain, of hunger, of ghosts, all of it, for that one perfect empty second. He was gone, but I was still here. The scream of the alarm, the flash of the red lights, they were distant, a picture in a box. They were not my world. My world was the dust of the bell tower. My eye pulled back from the scope. The cold black rubber of the eyepiece left a ring on my face. My skin was too numb to feel it. The silence in my perch was total. The city's panic was theirs, not mine. My work was done. The second half had begun. My hands, which had been stone for 74 days, began to move. The rifle. I unclipped the data link. My mask went dark for a second. The world of the scope vanished. The world of the now returned. The cold. The stone. The smell of propellant. My fingers found the latches. They were stiff. They shook, not with fear, with atrophy, with cold. The flesh was reasserting itself. It was reminding me of its weakness. I willed the shaking to stop. It mostly obeyed. The rifle came apart in 5 movements. The scope, the barrel, the suppressor, the stock, the receiver. Each piece, warm from the shot, was placed in its foam-lined case. It was the reverse of the prayer, the unmaking. My spine was gone. It was just a tool in a box again. The rifle is dark. I closed the lid. It made a soft final thud. Now, me. I had to stand. This was the part I dreaded. The true test. The waiting. The waiting always demands payment. I pushed my hands against the stone floor. I tried to move my legs. They did not respond. They were objects. Numb, frozen, useless. The nerves were dead. The muscles were water. I forced the command, move. The suit's internal stims injectors fired. A jolt of cold fire in my thighs. My legs spasmed. I used the spasm. I rolled from my stomach to my knees. The pain was white, a universe of it. The pressure sores the ones I had ignored screamed. They were open wounds. The suit's sealant was holding, but the flesh was torn. I did not care. Pain is just data. I grabbed the rifle case. I used it as a crutch. I pulled myself to my feet. I stood. My legs were trembling, shaking so violently I could barely see. I was a new fawn, a mockery. But I was standing. I scanned the perch. My chameleon cloak. Folded. My empty nutrient packs, all in the sealed bag. The shell casing. There was no shell casing. The Exitus is a perfect weapon. It leaves no trace. I looked at the stone where I had laid for 2.5 months. It was clean. Just dust. Just stone. I was never here. I moved to the hatch. My legs were working. They were clumsy. They burned. But they worked. The training is a steel frame. It holds the rotting meat together. I slipped through the corroded opening. I was back in the ventilation shaft. The wind howled. It tried to tear me from the wall. The city screamed below me. The city screams! I am... Silence. The descent was faster than the climb. I fell more than I climbed. A controlled drop. My arms, which had done nothing but hold a rifle, were now my life. They took the strain. They burned. I ignored them. I moved down, down, into the filth. I was back in the sewage conduit, the gantry, the wall of stench, burnt oil, ozone, rust. I breathed it in. It was the smell of the way home, the smell of the shadows. The spire was a cage of cold, clean air. The sewer, this was my element. I began to run. It was not a run. It was a lurch. A painful, staggering, broken-limbed sprint. The exhaustion was a physical weight, a creature on my back trying to pull me down. The 74 days of stillness were all demanding payment at once. I passed a grate. Through the iron bars, I saw the underhive, a river of people, a street packed with them. Millions, shouting, crying, living. Their heat signatures were a chaotic, messy blur. They did not look up. They did not see the ghost in the pipes above them. I was not there. I reached the disposal junction, a vast churning river of chemical sludge. I unhooked the empty supply pack. I threw it in. It was gone. The empty stim injectors. Gone. I kept the rifle. I kept the mask. The mission was not over. My mask was cold. My lungs burned. The recycled air was stale, but it was all I had. I was a machine. a broken, failing machine. But I was still functioning. I was 9 Delta. I do not fail. I reached the coordinates. The bulkhead. The same gantry where I arrived. It was dark, empty. The alarm from the spire was a faint, distant echo. A bee sting of sound. I stood in the darkness. The mission was complete. The extraction was pending. I waited. I was good at waiting. A vibration, a change in the air pressure, a section of the wall unfolded, a dark shape, a null hum. The transport. It was here. The extraction point was cold. The transport was waiting. And the silence returned. The transport did not slow. It did not shudder. It simply stopped. The docking clamp thudded. A single final magnetic thud. The low hum of the stealth engine died. The silence that replaced it was heavy. The wall unfolded. The same blue light. The same sterile corridor. The same smell of ozone. The 2 servitors were there. The medico. The armor pattern. They were standing in the exact same spot. Had they moved or had they been waiting frozen for 74 days, it did not matter. A tool does not question its box. I stepped onto the gantry. The rifle case was a lead weight in my hand. My legs, they were twigs, they were glass. They trembled with every step. The pain was no longer a fire. It was a white, cold, absolute void of its own. The suit's seals were compromised. The flesh was raw. It had served its purpose. I stopped 1 meter away. Protocol. The armor servitor moved. Its oiled joints were silent. Its metal claws reached not for the rifle, but for me. It unlatched the seals at the base of my skull. A hiss of depressurization. The mask was lifted away. The air of the station hit my face. It was warm, thick. It smelled of recycled breath and machine oil. It was disgusting. I had forgotten. My own breath was a ragged cloud of steam in the cold blue light. My skin itched. The medica servitor stepped in. Its red optic lens scanned my body. A vertical line of light. It saw the atrophy, the pressure sores, the metabolic failure. It was just data. It raised an injector and plunged it into my neck. Not a stimulant, a suppressant, a wave of chemical calm. The white-hot pain in my hips and back did not stop. It just became distant. A report from another room. A new door opened. Not the lift, not the cryo bay. A debriefing chamber. A seamless white cube. The light came from the walls. It was total. There was no furniture. There were no shadows. I stepped inside. The rifle case was taken from my hand by the armor servitor. The door hissed shut. I was alone, with the voice. It came from the walls, from the light, from nowhere. The synthetic, perfect, dead voice of the temple. Designation 9 Delta. Report. I stood in the center of the light. A specimen. A tool presented for inspection. I spoke. My voice was a ruin. A dry, cracked, and broken thing. Target Lord Militant Hectoron. Status neutralized. Objective complete. Infiltration, no trace. Extraction, no trace. The silence that followed was heavy. A calculation. The white light of the room felt warm. It was judging. Then one word. Deviations. The word hung in the air. Deviations. The bluebird. The impossible color. The smile that was not in the data file. The spike in my heart rate. 68 BPM. A failure. The hesitation, the doubt, the ghost. A weapon that questions. A tool that feels. The greatest heresy. I had seen it. I had felt it. And I had made the shot. The shot was the answer. The shot was the penance. The doubt was a symptom of the failing flesh. The weapon had been tested, and it had proven perfect. The data was irrelevant. No deviations. Another pause. Longer this time. A test of my nerve. A test of my lie. I did not breathe. The suppressant held my body in perfect mechanical stillness. The flesh is a liar. The mission is the truth. Status confirmed. The word was not praise. It was not acceptance. It was a period. The end of the equation. Operative 9 Delta proceed to suspension. The door behind me hissed open. The servitors were waiting. They led me. My legs were failing, but they held me. They guided me. Back down the blue-lit hall. Back to the alcove. Back to the beginning. The cryo coffin was open. The dark, amniotic fluid steamed with cold. The void. It was a promise of peace. The only peace. The Medicus Servitor was at my side. It held a final injector. The purification. The cold returns. The void welcomes. I stood before the coffin. I looked at the stillness of the fluid. It would wash away the pain. It would wash away the memory of the blue bird. It would wash away 9 Delta. And I would be the silence again. I am 9 Delta. I am the weapon. I am waiting. I stepped in. The fluid was a perfect, shocking, absolute cold. It covered my feet, my knees, my waist. The pain. It was gone. The sores were numb. The flesh was silenced. The lid began to slide shut. A heavy hydraulic hiss. The white light of the room was cut to a single sharp line. Then darkness. The red light inside the lid was off. I was done. The war would continue. I would be called again. It was all irrelevant.